No, no. I'm in Cairo, New Cairo.
Nice one.
Yeah. So I've got my sister here, Carol.
Hi,
You see?
Carol. I saw
Hi,
you in the
hi.
background.
How you doing?
I'm okay. Nice to see you.
Can you see? Yeah.
Yeah, nice to see you too.
Another
Yeah.
holiday.
Yes.
Mm,
Get it
Can't
in
have
while
too
you
many
can.
holidays.
mm.
Right, good for
So
you.
this is Carol's second home. Oh, careful with that table, Carol. Yeah, it's Carol's second home. So and it's my good fortune that Carol lived here for 10 years, and she's got a lot of friends here, and she's come to visit her friends, and a lot of her friends are now my friends, and we've met new people out here, and interesting new people, and
Hmm.
we're exploring places to possibly live, possibly stay longer, um, and we're going to go somewhere on the Red Sea, somewhere undisclosed
Nice.
location. um, there's a lot of interesting travellers go off off the
Yeah.
off the beaten track and everything. So looking forward to that. So we're off to
Wow,
this
that's awesome.
exciting place next week. Carol will be staying for a bit longer, but I'm only here for um, another 10 days. Um, yeah.
Hmm.
So anyway, uh, we're just waiting for Victoria to come on. What's been happening? The shrimp sends his apologies. um,
Yeah, I've just seen.
yeah,
Yeah, he's not feeling too great.
yeah. So, Steve,
Yeah.
so one of the just while we're waiting for Victoria to come on, one of the themes that's been going in the last week or so, they're still going on about this Trump thing. Yeah,
Okay.
surely more people are waking up now.
I
Surely
mean,
more people are waking up because yeah.
if they're not, somebody needs to poke them in the eye.
Mm.
I mean, it couldn't get
Can you
more
hear?
glaringly obvious now.
No, it's okay.
Can you hear me now? If I just saw that Carol can
Yeah,
listen.
yeah, perfectly.
Carol? Yeah. And you can hear me okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
just to off.
perfect.
Yeah. So one interesting thing about here is in Egypt, nobody's the slightest bit interested in the US elections. It means nothing. It means
Hmm.
nothing to do with anyone. It's
Yeah,
completely irrelevant to the rest of the world. Um,
yeah. It's
yeah.
funny because in the UK there still seems to be a bit of an allegiance to American politics. And I know you could say, well, America and Britain have got strong links, but that's it. What we do. I mean, it's almost. I mean, the impression I get certainly from truth communities is the truth community are more interested in what Donald Trump's got to say than anybody else on the face of the planet. I mean, I
Yeah.
couldn't. I don't even listen. I don't listen to any politician, not one. I'm
Yeah.
so I'm so out of the loop with politics. It's almost embarrassing. But I have got nothing to do with politics. I'm an anarchist.
Yeah.
Politics doesn't.
Yeah.
The only thing that interests me in politics is the fact that I'll do my best for the rest of my life to dismantle it piece by piece. If it and if I'm doing it by myself, then I'll do it by myself.
Yeah.
Truth
I
movement
like
need
it.
to come into alignment with this.
Yeah. I'm getting less and less interested. Oh, and just like when you saw that, what was he called? That Oracle bloke, Larry, what's the guy from Oracle
Yeah, I know what you
saying
mean.
they're going to bring in these this test, personal test, and then within 48 hours they will have a personalized vaccine for you.
Yeah.
Um, it's
Can't
just
wait.
yeah, we got Carol here. Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
just
this is where truthers need to start asking questions. I'm going to guess the 99% of the truth movement think that vaccines, certainly the COVID ones, complete bunk. They'll probably think the rest of them are complete bunk as well, with any luck. And if not, they need to get to that modality of thought. Therefore, if
Yeah.
there's members of government, and whichever government this is, if they are pushing poisons, which we already know to be completely harmful, does that not register with people? Well, the government are pushing harmful vaccines that we oppose, we are morally opposed to. Well, therefore, you need to be morally opposed to government and stop. People need to stop kidding themselves that Donald Trump is somehow just doing it in order to expose things to bring it to the attention of the world. This, I mean, I'm ready. My head's ready to explode with this ridiculous mindset. It's an absolute bunk.
Yeah, yeah. I've got to stop. We've been having a little group discussion tonight with a few of us, and
Yeah.
I think we are all of the opinion that there's so much rubbish and distraction that is just why are people. I've got friends that they listen to Radio 4 all day long because that's their life, and I think, well, okay, there's certain like friends and people that look, I'm just not interested anymore with this stuff. I don't want to. I don't even want to like waste my time like discussing, debating these things because there's so many more interesting, better things to be doing. Like travel. I love travel.
Yeah.
You do as well. It's this. You're a warrior. It's this notion that we've always got to have our options open. I think Victoria's coming on now. Hang on, I'm just going to add you in the group here. Hooray, Victoria!
Absolutely hopeless, him trying to ask him for advice about where the link was and where I got it from last week. I've had to re-download Telegram. I don't know what was going on. It wasn't like...
No, nice to see you. Anyway, just catching up. I'm in New Cairo at the moment, staying with friends.
Oh, very nice.
I'm off somewhere down on the Red Sea in a day or so, and I'm here for another 10 days. And my sister here, say hi to Carol. Where's she gone? There?
Oh, it's Carol there. Hello, Carol.
Do you remember Victoria?
I stayed in your bedroom once when you were travelling.
Right.
Yeah, she will have been in Egypt, or she will have been doing her care work or whatever. But she's now looking for a more, retirement and just enjoy herself. And I'm gonna like help her get settled here in Egypt. And it's always somewhere that we can come out. Oh, something interesting came up this morning. Yeah, someone suggested, why don't we put on a retreat here in Egypt, right?
Oh, nice.
Somewhere like Giza or perhaps in Doha or somewhere like that, somewhere remote, perhaps even keep it secret, just go out, we meet somewhere, and then we get in the Land Cruisers and we go off somewhere to some undisclosed location in the desert, and we just we do our thing. There's so much like I'm becoming aware of astronomy, astrology. The sky is wonderful out here, when you get out of the city, and all these bohemian kind of people that you come across traveling. It's a wonderful mix of ideas and ways of thinking. The way the Anglo-Saxons live is so single track limited way of thinking. There's many ways of living and thinking. It's wonderful to keep the mind open and keep our options open and just be able to live any different way. Our shower's not worked for the last week or so. I've been having cold showers every day. No problem.
Oh,
It really starts the day really well. Anyway, we've been sorting a friend's house out with a shower and just things to make the house really nice, comfortable for Carol, but also we're flexible. We can we're looking at different apartments all over the place and options. So anyway, Egypt, wonderful place. So that's where I am now. What have you been up to then, Victoria?
Oh, you've caught me off guard. I'm just trying to sort me.
I know you were putting a bit. Yeah, I can see. Suddenly, I see a brick wall behind you, huh?
Because I'm sure last week my microphone wasn't working, man. It was going through the PC built-in speaker, and I haven't used this computer upstairs for ages. I'm forced onto it because you insist on using that StreamYard link. I haven't got it anywhere else.
I thought it was simple. I thought just because you click on the link and
I've never
says...
found it simple. But you know, when you were saying about getting cold showers every day, I bought one of them, the ice baths, but I haven't started it yet. I've been looking at Wim Hof's work. Have you seen that? He
oh yeah.
When he was younger, his wife committed suicide, and his intuition made him feel like jumping into a lake. And when he was in the ice cold water, whatever it does to your body, like, was making him feel less depressed. So when I was having a relapse a little while ago, I thought, well, desperate times call for desperate measures. And I ordered one of the ice baths, but I haven't started yet. I've just been studying it because there's a company called Brass Monkey, and in their brochure they tell you, like, when your body starts shaking, not to try and warm up too quickly. Let yourself shake outside and put a dressing gown or one of them river coats on or whatever. Because and all his breathing as well. When I was watching his deep breathing methods, where people usually tell you to hold your breath in, what inclined to hold your breath in, but what he does is he gets you to breathe out and hold your breath with your breath out, and it takes you into the gamma state in your mind. And he was saying that when you do the deep breathing, you know how having potassium diets or bone broth can alkalize your body and get rid of all disease. It's the same when you're not excessively oxygenated, but we are only taking in about 25% oxygen now. Our blood's got nowhere near the amount of oxygen it needs in it to stay healthy. And what he was shown through his study with this lad, he had this lad lying down, he was getting him to do the deep breathing, and they were taking the test before and after, and it was alkalizing his vessel just through the breathing. So it's like it's healing without having to do all the cooking carry on. If you can just get into that practice, it was really impressive.
Yeah, we had this speaker, I forget his name. He came with Glyn Pendergrass. It wasn't Glyn, it was a guy he was helping. I forgot his name. You might you probably know him. And he who?
Did you say Glyn?
Yeah.
Do you mean Glyn?
Yeah.
I kind of say out about Glyn on, yeah.
I know you've told us that before, but it was the guy he was with, Richard Richard.
Oh, Richard, lovely. I like Richard.
Yeah.
Who did the CNAR.
He was excellent. But one of the things he did was, he said, could I have a volunteer, please? And he took a blood sample, and you could see the blood cells were like kind of like clogged up and everything. And he made him drink this structured water with ethylene blue in it, and then a few minutes later he took another sample, and you could see it was flowing. It was like it wasn't clogging up or something. Structured water.
What's his name again? The one who does results count or results matter. What's his name again?
Hang on. Sorry, Carol. I can't hear very well. I'm just going to have to put the headphone. It just means Carol can't listen in. Sorry, Carol.
That's okay.
Yeah, okay.
Can anyone hear?
Yeah, I can hear. Say something again.
Can you hear? I said hello, and I don't know if you can hear out.
I can hear. No, hello, Victoria.
He's gone all shy. You just want. I said, yeah. Yeah. So Steve's here, and because I've been out of it a bit, I haven't quite I'm not right up with what the conversation is at the moment. I know Steve's been talking a lot about science and symbols again and the occult, and
Well, I've
So-
never heard him talk about it, so he could talk about it today. Because he only
Yeah.
said, because he had his talk coming up, he wasn't really giving much away, was he? And I haven't really heard what
yeah,
Steve talking
Yes.
about.
yeah. Steve, tell us about your talk. How did it go?
The talk went well. It wasn't it was well received, but there wasn't many people attended, sadly. But I think part of the reason for that is the weather was pretty bad.
Yeah,
It was
I
that
heard the
windy day.
storms there.
Yeah. Possibly I've offended that many people that they think I'm not going to listen to that tosser. Who knows?
I don't want to hear about who turned up. I want to hear what the content is.
Yeah,
Right. Well, that's where it gets very complicated, you could say, because the talk I did the other day was based on a 3-part series, which is essentially about the human condition and how the occult and how it affects the human condition, let's say. So when it affects the human condition, if it affects the human condition, it affects the manifested outcome of reality. And as you could probably detect, we're already in a state of growing tyranny and enslavement. Some people call it a totalitarian Marxist regime, but let's call it an occultocracy, where the
can I just tell you what?
occultocracy.
What they're doing
I love
is
that.
they're seeking to take complete dominion of the earth plane to go against everyone's free will, because that is absolute darkness on the earth. And just to intersect for a second, there was this there was a study in China. Was a video that was going around, and they had this little blue bottle, and they had put electrodes in the corner of its legs and in the back. And they were laughing and giggling about it, but it wasn't funny. They were flying this fly round on a remote control, and then he had it back on his hand, and he said to him, how long will it live like that? And he goes, it'll live its full expectancy as long as we're feeding it. He said, but it won't have any control of its own limbs. We'll be controlling it. So they were controlling its free will. And there was a film years ago with Michael Caine. A clip was going round on the channels years ago, and he was talking about them. They want dominion of the consciousness, because the entire cell is source itself. So they're trying to take control of the creator through our spirits being streams of source consciousness. So they think by seeking dominion of our minds, but ultimately it's going to cause complete destruction, because are they not aware that they are part of the collective? I don't get it.
I don't even think they care whether they destroy themselves or their families in the process. This is how sick and twisted these lunatics are. But you're very right. They're trying to seek dominion over God's creation ultimately by every which way but loose. And they're seeking to achieve it, and they're very successful in their exploits as well, which is why we are currently, our current human condition is you could say, arguably covert slavery with increasing degrees of tyranny. That's it. That's it in a simple, bold statement. Covert slavery.
Tax itself is the slavery.
There's many forms of slavery. There's many forms of slavery. Even just being unable to think clearly is a form of covert slavery. So this is. I mean, this is where people really need to understand the controlling factions of government. The word government literally means mind control. So anyone who votes for government is literally forcing mind control, consensual mind control upon themselves and upon the rest of the society. I don't think that's particularly healthy. That's why I'm an anarchist. An anarchist means no rulers. I don't have anybody ruling me. Even though I used to be a soldier in the army for 30 years, I no longer, even I was an anarchist in the army, I'll have you know, but I no longer have anybody's force of rule upon me because I don't agree with human slavery. Not only that, you mentioned a point earlier, Victoria, about how they're trying to basically rule people and do this to people and do that to people. That in itself is de facto, no word of a lie, the express description of what evil actually is. Evil, you could say, let's say what a right and what a wrong is. And again, many people in the truth movement don't know this. And this is why sometimes I get a little bit cheesed off, because many people vote for Trump and think Trump's a savior of the planet. So this is what a right and a wrong is. A right is any action that causes no harm to any living being. A wrong is any action that does cause harm to any living being. It's very simple. So therefore, we have to understand what harm is, or what an indiscretion of harm is. Well, if somebody's putting another individual under mind control, or subtly influence them in order to put covert slavery into their sphere of being, that is a harm. It doesn't have to be a physical harm.
Yeah.
Come on, Chris, I'll let you speak.
Psychological harm. So, Victoria, you were saying about the flies. They were controlling the flies
by electrodes in the body parts of the fly.
Yeah,
with frequency through remote control. I'm sure that I don't know that they're going to pull it off, right? But I think the initial plan was get as much graphene oxide into people's bodies as they can, and then get the 5G towers to take control of the bodies through the nanobots.
The AMF, yeah.
Yeah. And have you seen that film Transcendence with Johnny Depp? They do it in there. He uploads his consciousness to a central mainframe because he's dying, and it's a bit like that Lucy. Once his consciousness gets uploaded to the central mainframe, he can then access everywhere on the central mainframe. But where they've been dropping nanobots in the sky, he then starts to defend himself, starts taking over other bodies that are around him by drawing up nanobots.
I have seen that actually. Was it not out about 10 years ago or so?
It was a while ago, but then if you go on the CDC website, they openly talk about a zombie apocalypse on there.
Yeah.
Just mental.
Well, taking control of a fly, i.e. making it controllable by whatever means other than its own natural free will, is a transgression of what's known as natural law, and it's a wrong. It's an act of, let's call it an act of evil, because acts of evil and acts of wrongdoing intentionally falls into the bracket of evil, and this is what we need to really understand. I think in the truth movement anyway, they need to start understanding the difference between right and wrong. You could say this is the root or the causal factors of all the ills in society today. It's not just because there's a bunch of billionaires trying to take control of the world. It's because we, as the human species, don't understand the fundamental difference between right and wrong. If we did, we wouldn't be in this pickle.
Well, I think we do know the difference between right and wrong.
I'd argue with that, mind.
Well, it depends, doesn't it? Because naturally, I know the difference between right and wrong because I can feel it in me being. Everyone knows when they've done something wrong, whether they admit it or not. They know whether they're doing wrong or not. But the external world's been set up to feed into the ego identity, and depending which one you're feeding, if you're identifying more through the external world than you are through the internal world, then it's which one you feed the most grows the most. So then your ego holds the most power, and you would just feel like, well, it is wrong, but I'm not bothered, because you justify it yourself. And if they hadn't done that, well, I wouldn't have done this. But when you look at actually, the jab is a prime example. The amount of people who felt inside that they didn't really want to have it, when they knew it was wrong for them on some interior level. Yet, because of what the media was saying and because of people around them wanting to do what was popular, wanting to be seen as virtue signalers, wanting to be seen as saviours, whatever they were doing for the external validation, rather than having trust within themselves to know what is right for them, that's where it all went wrong. And it's what they're doing is they're playing into people's emotions. Feel guilty, kill your grandma. Feel guilty. It's all emotional manipulation. And
Yeah, well, I agree with you there. And I mean, I agree with you. The point you made that basically we inherently know right from wrong because it's written in our hearts. I fundamentally agree with that. What the difference is that there's a condition, the notion of objective morality, where we know what right and wrong is. However, we will do, even if it's a wrong, even if it's not correct, we will do it because we get pressurized, whether it's through the description of our job, the orders from our. Well, yeah, but society. I'm not talking about you or Chris or
me. You're just generalizing.
Yeah, generalizing. So the whole human race is in a condition following the notion of objective morality. They know fundamentally the difference between right and wrong. However, they don't apply it into reality because they will.
Because there's traps everywhere. Go to work, get yourself a job, buy a house, get yourself a mortgage. I know this is morally wrong. I don't want to do this, but if I don't do this, I'm going to get kicked out of my house within 6 weeks. I'm going to get kicked out of my house within 6 months. My wife's on my case. I'm not going to be able to feed the kids. I'm not going to be able to meet the bills. I'm going to have the utility companies on us. It's not really a free will choice that people are going against themselves. It's been socially engineered into a structure that unless you're entrepreneurial, unless you can think outside the box for yourself, then you're forced into these. I've just read some of my old posts yesterday, calling it a pigeonhole. You're forced into a pigeonhole, and if you kind of think outside of it to help yourself, and the sad thing about it is everyone's divine purpose is built in. If you've got the courage to do what you know you should be doing, if you've got the courage to take that leap of faith, which the universe will reward you for working within the cosmos, with the cosmos, is to work with yourself.
Yeah, you said an interesting thing this week about the way we see other people, the way we see the world. We can only see it to the extent that we understand ourselves.
Yes.
So and there are disjointed parts of ourselves as well. So we project this on other people, and so the world we see it based on our limited consciousness of the world. So maybe other species, other plants, other mycelium or whatever. Maybe the universe itself, the planets, the stars, whatever, they've got a completely different picture of what the universe is, and it's all frequencies, and the more detail you go, the more kind of. Well,
I think there's one universal consciousness within everyone. Once you tune in, we're all channeling the same truth. But
yeah, so when they've controlled all these flies, and they've genetically modified all our plants, and the killing of excuse me, is that happening, or are we just seeing it that way? We are being choked. We're being choked and tested.
Exactly everyone who supports Trump, and I'm not honestly, whatever your inherent belief is, I absolutely think you should be doing that. I promote authenticity and being true to yourself. And if you believe that Trump is your path, then that's your path for whatever your karmic lessons are, or whatever's going to activate discernment within you or your personal growth. I'm not judgmental about what anyone's doing. I just personally don't believe that any external savior is the path. That's the trick. On a spiritual level, what they're trying to stop is us ascending into the higher planes of existence. They maintain samsara and the karmic wheel by keeping us from listening to ourselves. And each emotion has a frequency. So by perpetuating fear, guilt, envy, jealousy, all those things maintain this existence. When ultimately, if we could just have a word with ourselves, literally, we control the planetary frequency as a collective by what we are feeling. And when I said to you the other this week about people can only see by their own measure, for example, I'm diagnosed with ADHD and suspected of ASD, and that put me in a really vulnerable position because Disney princess programs probably programmed my brain when I was little, and I thought the world was lovely. And I used to look at people as if they were inherently good like me. So if they were smiling, I used to think, oh yeah, I used to see people by my own measure, which was if I love people, I care about people, I've got their best interests at heart. And for 40 years, I've been wronged. It was a hard lesson to learn. I didn't realise that people weren't the same. I didn't realise that people had such negative emotions towards others. I didn't realise people could dislike you even if you were being nice to them and had good intentions.
Yeah. Any thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, what you described in the earlier. Well, do you know what? I'll simplify some of what you said in the earlier part of your your sentences there, which is essentially objective morality. You're exactly right. There has been a trap which has kept people from understanding their true full conscious self. You're entirely right, and that could be kind of summarized into saying, yes, we're falling into a trap or a notion of objective morality, whereas if you were questioning an individual, even without training or education, what's the difference between right and wrong, the answer would be correct. They will know the difference. However, the society that we have generated through our own laziness to some degree has enabled a condition of objective morality, whereas man, or certainly the ones in charge, tell us what they want, what they believe to be true, correct, right or wrong, not what nature tells us or what's inherent in our hearts. And that's what objective morality is. It's when we override what nature tells us by listening to the authority of man. This is why I'm an anarchist. This is why I'll never, ever support Trump. Say again?
What authority? No, there's
man's authority.
The actual law is there's no man or woman higher than a man or woman anywhere in the land.
You're entirely right. But what's happened is society doesn't believe that to be true, and if it did believe it to be true, it doesn't follow it by its actions.
Well, authorities are just all fictional creations, aren't they?
But again, I agree with you there. But this is where mankind, society as a whole, fails because it doesn't follow what's naturally inherent, i.e., natural law and objective morality, i.e., right and wrong.
I don't feel like anyone's to blame for that, because
society's to blame for its own inaction.
Is it though? Because if you're not conscious and you're not aware of what's gone on, what does the scripture say? Forgive them, Father, because they don't know what to do. You know, even when we were little, everybody knows something's not right. No matter who they are, whether they're switched on, whether they're indoctrinated, everybody knows inherently there's something not right about this reality. But before the pandemic, there was years and years and years after my son's death where I knew all about legalese, I knew all about the system because I'd gone to the very depths of it because I wanted to know how I could be arrested for reckless manslaughter when I was innocent and my son didn't even have any of the symptoms that the paper said he had. It was just incredible to me, always having the law on my heart and studying the law. And I wanted to know exactly what the foundation of it was. But
Well,
ultimately,
it's great that you went through it, and you're so much wiser and better for it. You went through an incredible trauma, and you're incredible injustice. But look what's come of it. You understand all this knowledge, and you're so much wiser for where you are. Let's just pivot to another similar
can I
story.
just say one thing before
Yeah, sure.
do that?
You say it, and I'll write down what I'm thinking.
All
Yeah.
right. That's ADHD, that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So what you're saying about it being society's fault, there was no one for me to talk to hardly about it for 15 years. I didn't know anyone. I didn't know any groups to go to, or any like-minded people. And it was only when the pandemic started and I started just talking in chats on a night time, before I was like working with Guardians, and then I worked with Truth Pills for a while after that. But if it doesn't align with me integrity, if me spirit is not saying, if I know this is not right and other people are not coming from an integral part of themselves, then I'll move away from that. So until the pandemic, there wasn't such a large expression of awareness where people were open to receiving new information.
Yeah.
I feel like anyone really who's saying, oh, look at you, man, you idiots, or however they're going on, all sheep need shepherds, and people are evolving at different stages, and judge not lest you be judged from a karmic point of view. I don't pity anyone. I just realise that that's your evolutionary path and where you're meant to be going, and that's going to get you to where you need to be. And what's going on in the external world is completely irrelevant to you and me travelling on our evolutionary path, because all we need to be paying attention to is what our spirit is saying and what inherent knowing of right and wrong. To follow what sits right is the ascension path. That's the continual raise and vibration. And to evolve is to make the conscious choice to tune into, I knew I should have done that, and you didn't quite hear it. And every time you fuck up with it, you think, I need to listen to myself. And that voice gets stronger. And the more you're obedient to, I knew I should listen to myself, that's where it says in the scripture, your vessel is not your own. I hand over my vessel to the Most High to be led by the Holy Spirit so I can fulfill my divine purpose within the earth plane. And everyone comes with their own set of keys. I don't want to say kingdom because it's king's domain, but to heaven, to the ascension, to however it is that we transcend into the higher realms, everyone's got access to that, and all they have to do is be true to themselves. And that's why I think the only way out is in, because when we are obedient to ourselves, the universe creates a path for us where there is no way. It's outside of the third dimension. It's outside of limited beliefs. When you pursue your inherent path, you're on the leading edge of consciousness. There is no one in front of you. Whatever you're doing is entirely unique to you. Everyone's equally as important, whatever their path is. And so it's that's why I say to people, no matter what you do, if we weren't doing anything before, and we're doing a tiny little bit now a day, standing up in Tesco's because I'm sick of all the automated tills. The tills saying we need to complain about this, otherwise we're only going to have robots on the phone, or we're going to have robots on the tills, and then we're going to get arrested because we can't pay for the shopping because the machines are not working. That's not a future I want to go into. But if we're all doing a little bit every day wherever we can, then by the end of 365 days, that's a giant leap for mankind. I don't feel like we need to be doing massive, blatant amounts in plain sight of the authorities in the government. I said to Chris the other week, when terrorists operate, say it's in the films for science fiction or whatever, and they operate as terrorist cells. And that's exactly how the divine works. It doesn't matter where you are, your inherent knowing is going to adapt in every single environment, so you know the path to the highest outcome for yourself. You can't go wrong.
That's a bit like in every moment, there's always this infinite possibilities. So we can create, we can find our paths, and if we miss something, it'll universe will just bring it along again. So
But I don't think you ever miss, Chris. I don't think you ever miss your path. I think if you think you've gone down the wrong path, you're just learning something else.
Well, you're just suffering a little bit. You're just suffering. I mean, I know.
Can I just make a couple of
really
points
going
here?
down the wrong path.
The universe is provably has two qualities to it. One is randomness and one is determinism. That means there is random abilities for human beings to engage upon free will in the universe without any path, without any jurisdiction from anything whatsoever. There's also a determined structure to the universe. Both of these qualities are definable and kind of can be worked out using scientific methods. So if people are on a path, that's fair enough, but that path cannot always be changed. But I quite agree with quite a lot of what you're saying, and what I do in some of my presentations is I kind of define how this works in reality, so we can change the reality that we're living in, the fundamental reality of which is, as I described earlier, which is covert slavery with a growing increase in tyranny towards other people, i.e., all of these things are fundamental damage and violations upon humans' natural inherent rights. So, as I said earlier, a right is anything as long as it doesn't impart any measure of harm to another living soul. So, if I want to drive my car at 1,000 miles an hour and I want to smoke weed and get drunk in the process, I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying that is my right, as long as nobody is harmed in the process of that. Now, that's not a great example because that's obviously a bit reckless, and that anybody operating of a higher mind would not engage in reckless behavior. But fundamentally, this is what needs to be known by, let's just say, people who want to live in truth. They need to realize that we do not have to answer to a man-made authority to tell us what our rights are. It's written into nature, it's written into the law of creation, which is, as I just said, to do whatever you want as long as it imparts no harm.
And I disagree slightly. Can I just...
Well, you can disagree all you want, but all you're going to do is disagree with the laws of creation. So,
well, no, I'm not, because obviously I listen to my inherent word.
Okay, let's listen to Victoria. Yeah.
No, just because I appreciate where he's coming from, but that's not my perspective. There's a communal righteousness, and then there's what's inherently right for your vessel. So you say not to cause harm. So I wouldn't come up and just punch you in the face for no reason, right? Or I wouldn't slag you off behind your back, or I wouldn't do vindictive things, or I wouldn't do things with an intention that were going to cause you harm, right? But in the numerous abusive relationships I've been in, I've been calm and diplomatic and calm and diplomatic and calm and diplomatic and calm and diplomatic, and then they've took the absolute piss. And then I've told them all about themselves, right? And then I'm a cunt then, because I've told them all about themselves. And, oh, well, you've been being false the whole time because you were being lovely, but now you're not being lovely. Well, I know, because you've trampled over about 20 of my boundaries, even though I've repeatedly asked you not to. And now I've had enough of the way you're going on, so I'm going to tell you all about yourself. So obviously, when I tell them about themselves, that's hurting their ego, and I'm causing them harm. But I'm not causing them harm with intention. They're causing harm to themselves by repeatedly trying to cause me harm. And that's instant karma, really, because it's them type of people who like to dish it out and say belittling things and then go, oh, I'm only joking, man, when it's chipping away at your self-esteem the whole time.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's as simple as, unless you're just conscious that you're not harming. But people can say you've harmed them even if you haven't had the intention. And obviously, the bigger people's egos are, then, like, I must have gone out with a lot of narcissistic people and they've done me a massive favour because all they do is try to poke us to get a reaction. So now, but all they've done is pointed out to me where all my wounds are.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
I've healed myself because of it. But they then get angry that they can't get me to react anymore. So
Yeah,
it's not that they're not trying to cause.
Can I just?
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah.
I've got to jump in at this moment because it's the opportunity to say that, you know, there's a person. There has been a person in the room with me, not at the moment, but they'll be coming back shortly. Going through a very difficult process, and I'm with a like-minded person who we can be very open and free and talk about anything. There's nothing that can be said or done because there's like a huge respect for each other's boundaries and the process of what are everyone's wants here, and we've been trying to go through this process of what do we want, what do we expect of each other, and what kind of just anything. Say to be ourselves, and I'm in this with these friends now, and you know, I can do anything. I can tell anyone to say, but it's a process of knowing the. I'm sort of kind of losing myself a bit now. It's a process of being ourselves and letting everyone be themselves, but then a person gets bogged down by the external world and they become like a robot of that world, and then they're unable to think for themselves. They don't know what to think, what to react, how to do, and they lose their way. And we're going through this process of where is this person's innermost security, because what I feel that, you know, when people lose that, lose their confidence in what is their role, their purpose, what they're trying to do, then it can quickly become a downward spiral. So I've been learning so much this week, and I'm going to have to write it down and be able to explain it more succinctly, but I feel very like we're making a lot of progress, and I'm learning a lot as well, because I'm on this same, this person we're talking about has got to that point where I can hear them talking, can't help me, that, you know, the older we get, we don't hold as much concentration, and our memory it becomes more difficult to learn. We have to face that reality. When we're a baby, when we're born, our memory and our knowledge, our ability to learn is absolutely massive and vast. And we come with all the gifts that we had from wherever we came before. We're able to soak all this up. But as we go through the life cycle, like, say, what is it? They say 60 years and 10 or whatever. We come to the, let's say, you know, I'm like just over 60 now, and so like I would say I'm two-thirds of the way through my life, and I can realize there's things I have to slow down a bit in many different areas. But I see this other person who is really losing it. They've really lost it, and what's happening is, oh, thanks, Carol. What's happening? Lovely.
What have they lost, Chris? Can you just define what you feel they've lost?
Well, let's see. Just generally, this process of like the older we get, the more difficult. Like, I've been trying to learn Arabic, and it's a lot more difficult to learn languages than when you're younger. But I'm struggling. I'm going, and I feel as if the older we get, the more wisdom we get, and the more we can organize ourselves to focus on what we find is important. And I think we're fortunate. We've kind of like, we're on that path, but there's a lot of people that have just lost it. And then how would you try and
Lost themselves, or just
yes,
or lost the sense of direction.
yes, all of that, yeah, and then lose confidence in themselves, and then become fearful of anything that might upset other people or go in the wrong direction, or think
Chris,
really
can
think
I?
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if this is entirely the point that you're making, but I mean, I teach occult knowledge simply because this helps focus people into the direction that was intended by nature. Occultism is a science based on the microcosm and the macrocosm. It means hidden knowledge. That hidden knowledge can be in two forms. It can be esoteric or exoteric. Exoteric is generally understood by the masses, excuse me, and an example of which is kind of mainstream religion. You could say that's an exoteric, hidden occult knowledge. Esoteric means kind of even deeper and more meaningful, which is usually only reserved for initiates to, let's just say, a mystery school. So esoteric knowledge is a deeper form of philosophy. Both these formats of occult knowledge, hidden knowledge, falls within the macrocosm, which is essentially the universe as a whole, and which includes the laws of nature. And the microcosm is the inner universe, which is the human anatomy, the human form, which is an inner universe, and it covers the understanding of human consciousness and the understanding of psychology, the psyche. Both of these things are important in any spiritual subject. Any spiritual progress needs to concentrate on the micro and the macrocosm. So I try to convey the outer world, the macrocosm, and how it is and how it appears in what format, as I said earlier, tyranny and slavery, and how our human form and our understanding of consciousness can actually make difference to the outer influence of what's in the world. So what I quite often start by saying is our collective problems. So the problems in the world that we all experience are all spiritual problems, which are rooted in consciousness, and they're maintained by collective ignorance. Now, if before I finish speaking, I'll just expand on that, just so it can be kind of better understood. When I talk about spiritual problems, that can be generated or understood by the measure of freedom. Spirituality is freedom. Consciousness relates to perception. So how we perceive the world and how we perceive conscious and the inner structure of human psychology is perception. And finally, ignorance. That might sound a little bit demeaning, but that's not a slur on anybody or anything. It simply means a lack of information or a lack of knowledge. So those three things, freedom, perception, and lack of knowledge, are easily addressed, but we need to increase knowledge, we need to increase perception, and we need to increase freedom. And the key to understanding those dynamics is by a greater understanding of what I present, which is occult knowledge.
Do you think the big tech people like Gates and Musk and the guy from Palantir think they know all this this occult knowledge very, very well, and that they're looking upon, say, the truth community like ourselves. Maybe we are being targeted and tested the most, and we, by what we say and everything, they find ways to say, "Oh yes, this ideology fits in with what I think." That idea, we can be tricked at any stage, any time, no matter how spiritually advanced we may think we are. We're always at that possibility of being tricked and fooled if we're not like aware and alert.
Yeah, do you know what? I don't think the people you've mentioned there, Palantir and Musk, or any other president for that matter, are particularly well versed in occult knowledge. They're not that high up in the pecking order. They're just middlemen. They've probably, some of them have probably got some idea, but they won't have high levels of esoteric knowledge. If they did, they wouldn't be in the positions they're in. If they did, I'm talking about priest class who are way above people like Elon Musk and presidents, etc., who have got esoteric understanding, much deeper forms of philosophical thought on how the universe is actually governed and the laws of nature within it. But that doesn't mean that these people aren't applying this esoteric dominion over us by their actions. And also, to address the point you made, if we were spiritually blessed and spiritually advanced, we wouldn't be in this predicament. We are facing spiritual problems, and we need to increase our knowledge on what spirituality means and how it's generated.
I've just dropped you a post in the Porky about
me.
Yeah, what you're talking about is I link scripture into the micro and the macro. And I've done something on that, so just so you can see.
I'll have a read. I mean, scripture is micro and macro. The Bible is two books. It's bicameral, just like the House of Representatives and Congress is bicameral. It's two houses, two forms of legislation, just as the Bible is, like the New and the Old Testament, just as the tarot cards are, which are the major and the minor arcana, just as the laws of creation, as above, so below. It's the same thing. It's encoded into many things.
Yes, that was something I was thinking about exploring, was the power of insignia. So we're being sort of like spiritual detectives as we build our knowledge of what the occult is about. We can see that there are signs and symbols that are being passed through different cultures and with different meanings, and we can read just like a language. When you look at like Chinese or something like that, you don't know what it means, but learning this occult, we sort of we can see in that building and in that sign, in that symbol, in that insignia, in that coat of arms, there's a lot of language going on that we can pick up, like how do I say, I don't know. I've lost my full explanation. I can't explain it. I'm gonna have to study this a bit more. But we can see things that other people can't see. I know that. We walk past a building and one person doesn't see something, and I can see what's going on there. You can see like, oh, there's a bit of high tech. How the Tartarian people, they had access to this energy that is lost on us, but it was much more connected to the earth, the ley lines, and the universe. This energy that has a lot to do with the power of the mind and the psyche, projecting where we explore, what we do. I can't explain myself. I'm just losing it.
Can I add to what you're saying there, Chris? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, occultism covers symbology an awful lot, and symbols are everywhere. You can't go to the local high street without seeing, even if you don't understand it or appreciate it. Occult symbology is massively adorned everywhere, especially in modern culture, from almost every coffee shop to burger restaurant. And beyond, everywhere you go, it's on the TV, and it's always been inherent to our culture, society, and to our understanding of reality. However, because, as I said earlier, we do have a measure of ignorance, i.e., we don't fully understand everything, so therefore we can't act in accordance with a limited understanding and shape the world to the way we want it. So if we understand some of this symbology, we can increase our capacity of knowledge and make better representations of what we desire through our sort of material reality. But the reason I mentioned symbology is, just because there's a symbol there doesn't mean that it's evil or otherwise. Essentially, symbols are inert. But they do have and express and convey meanings. But this meaning, even if we don't fully understand it, it still impacts our psyche, because it's read on a subconscious level, and that's how symbology is used all the time, because
and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, it's used subconsciously. We pick up on it and formulate an impression in our minds at a subconscious level. So I don't know if that helps with the point you're making.
Yeah. I think that's what I was trying to get at. We get to this point where we've got this crazy government control system going. How did we get here? And then I learned something about how during the back to Trump again, Trump's inauguration, the whole ceremony went on between the dome of the White House and the what's it called, that thing that sticks up in the air that looks like a phallus?
The obelisk.
Yeah, the obelisk. Yeah. So what they were saying was that they're doing, it's an ancient ceremony which goes back to the worship of Osiris. And Isis. So Osiris was this all-powerful god, and then Isis came along to control him, and his parts got distributed into 13 parts. 12 tribes all over the world were what happened was Isis was cut up into 13 pieces and thrown into the Nile.
14 pieces.
What?
14 pieces.
Okay, but the one, so Osiris then gathered them all together again, except for one, and that was the penis, the phallic part of it. And when they do this this ritual to inaugurate the president, they're going through this ancient Egyptian ceremony of worship to Baal and everything. And like you say, they don't even know where it came from, but these symbols are been controlling these people for hundreds, if not thousands of years, to get us to this where we are now, until people come along and decipher it, and then we're actually on a level of understanding that we can see how other people have deciphered this stuff, and we see it all fit together with the astrology, the rituals, the control of what makes the world we live in today goes way back. It just goes so. It's very deep-rooted programming, and I think it's a wonderful journey trying to break out of this matrix. It's it makes every day interesting. It makes every pursuit interesting.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Yeah,
we mustn't lose this enthusiasm to discover and unpick it all. It's a journey, and we may never get all the way that way in this life, but at least I'll enjoy this life trying to get there. But also, and things like getting away from money, right? Money is, yes, you need it for basic things, but it's just an energy. We can build relationships, and we can build just trust. This is it. This is the key thing, and it comes to your thing, Steve, about honor and morality. Yeah, because the most valuable thing, it's not money. It's like integrity and trust and morality. So I'm trying to achieve an objective. There's no shortcuts. You can cheat someone here, there, or do that, or whatever. You can't. You just don't. You don't get there. Everything's got to be aligned correctly in order to progress and to break free of the chains of the matrix. Am I talking gobbledygook or?
No, but I think
don't know.
when you talk about morality, what doesn't sit right with me internally is that I don't think morality is something you should have to think about. Oh, am I causing harm? Is that right or wrong? It's not a mental thing. It's a feeling thing. It's an inherent thing. You're born with your moral compass. It's whether you've been listening to yourself or not. Otherwise, it's not an external creation. It's an inherent God-given creation. That's how the law is on your hearts. Like if I say to you, as a species, we've got the God-given right to move around freely without restriction, using our own discernment. Everyone knows that's true. Or when they're telling people you can't go to work, there was a hairdresser, was getting a £10,000 fine. And she went into court and said, these were these law groups I was in years ago. And they were based, she said, I had to go to work because I had to keep my roof over mine and my kids' heads, and I had to be able to put food on the table. But the fundamental law of that is I've got the right to life, I've got the right to shelter, and I've got the right to food. And those inherent attributes in any court of law supersede all fictional jurisdictions. And that's what true morality is, where you know what's right and wrong. It's not an external, do I have to think about, unless it's a dichotomous situation where you happen to have some type of internal contemplation with yourself.
Yeah.
That's what natural about
we have these inalienable rights, and but what about that thing Wayne was saying the other week about how it's all right for you, but it doesn't stop the bailiffs coming around and seizing your house and everything.
This is where occult knowledge fits in, Chris, because I fundamentally agree with what Victoria is saying there. Morality is etched on our hearts and our minds, so we know deep down what it is. We know the difference of right and wrong in our hearts. But the trouble is the external world doesn't cater for this, because we have an inauthentic pattern of laws, man's laws, which have superseded the laws of creation. Therefore, we can't apply natural law, what's known as natural law. And again, that's probably a subject for another day.
To start applying natural law, we have to start exercising it within ourselves.
Yeah, I agree, but we need to come to that common conclusion as a society, as an aggregate of society. We need to understand natural law and believe it in order to apply it into the real world, to take away the superseded inauthentic laws that have crafted society to benefit the ruling elite. This is why
it's going to come about naturally anyway, because people who are not standing up for what is right, it's going to get darker and darker. It's no point people saying, oh, look, what's me mum is an example, bless her. For the last 6 or 7 years, there's all these immigrants coming in. there's no women or children. They're all fighting aged men, and she's been so worried about it. And I said, Mum, it's like any problem in the world. People keep going, "Hey, look at that going on over there. Hey, look at that going on over there." But we're not doing anything about it because it's not affecting
Someone
us.
should do something about it. Yeah.
Aye. And
I
then
know,
before you
yeah.
know where you are, it's at your front door, and you're going, "Oh, well, aye, you've had all the time you've been pointing over there to be doing something conscious about it, and you haven't, and now it's on your doorstep." And then people are going to tap straight in to what is right and wrong. Because
Yeah,
it'll be right in the
I
face.
agree in a sense with that, because you're entirely right that nature will take precedence over the conduct of reality. However, a lot of people are going to get hurt and cheesed off in the process of allowing nature to take its
Well,
course. That's
Carl,
why people like yourself, myself, Chris, Truth Movement, that's why we exist, in order to share this knowledge and information so that this understanding could be met without the need for people to suffer needlessly. We can suffer till the end of time if we want, and
I
then we'll
don't think people
learn.
are suffering needlessly, though. Like,
Well,
I could
if
say,
you go to Palestine, they might disagree with you.
Oh, terrible suffering there. And we're all aware of it. A lot of people in Egypt are aware of it. And this is why I was in a
yeah,
discussion
but the
group
cosmos doesn't
tonight.
care about that.
Yeah.
Not on
But human beings do.
Pardon?
Human beings do. I care about what's going on there, and I want to stop it.
I care about what's going on there, but I thought you were talking about day-to-day
Internal,
people
yeah.
evolving in our nation to righteousness, to stepping out for what's right. And
It all has effect. It's an
suffering
accumulation.
is not unnecessary. I mean, I held my own son's dead body. I know all about suffering. And it's been long suffering, but there's benefits to long suffering when it comes to your levels of awareness and consciousness and your connection to the divine and remembering all that we are and who we are, and that actually we're infinite beings, and it doesn't matter what's happening in the third dimensional reality, because absolutely we're indestructible. When it comes to the quantum field, there's nothing they can do to us that are going to finish us forever. It's an absolute impossibility.
Yeah.
At the minute, our human bodies are still in the third dimension of manifested reality.
Well, we're not
Therefore,
only in the third dimension, we're multifaceted, we're operating in multiple dimensions.
we have to come into the third dimension when we engage with other people, because everyone's on different journeys, but we meet and we have to relate in the third dimension. And
well, we should just look back at the root problems, or the causal factors of our root problem, which is spiritual problems rooted in consciousness, manifested or brought into being by our lack of understanding. Not only that, what could define the human race at the minute? Covert slavery with increasing tyranny. Therefore, if we don't want increasing tyranny and covert slavery to be our manifested reality, then we can do nothing about it and just accept it as our divine fate and say, well, that's okay because it's not going to affect us on a quantum level.
The only reason it's got this far is because of the unconscious state of the collective. And there's nothing that's going to wake people up other than tyranny, unfortunately. That's how it's got.
There's two ways to wake people up. They can let them experience the tyranny until they decide they don't want anything to do with it, and then they'll come to the decision that we can give them through information, which is the understanding of hidden information, which will lead them to this knowledge.
To an extent.
To the full extent. I can tell you now that I can tell people occult knowledge to bring them to and it doesn't mean they've got to follow it, but I can give them
to an extent.
To the full extent.
But you
I can give them a full extent of how the universe works.
You can't force anyone to act on your.
I'm not going to. But I can give them the information so they can reach that conclusion.
Yes, but no one's acting to the full extent. Other they've got to make the conscious choice to take on what you say
Correct.
and then act on those teachings, which
Yeah.
is why I say it's not to the full extent in my perception, because to the full extent would be I've listened to this, now I'm going to put it into action. But I've lost my thread now. Remind us
Can I just
know
say-
what you were saying. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, but I can prove that I can prove the laws of nature. I can prove it as a science. That doesn't mean that anybody has to listen to me and follow it. That's up to them. But I can prove it, and I can prove it in scientific terms
Yeah, but
so people can reach that conclusion.
I could prove it from the fact that I've practiced them for 20 years and I've called physical experiences into being through affirmation and manifestation and practicing gratitude and using my imagination to call things into being. But you're creating by default anyway, because that's where your energy's going. But you can create by conscious choice. But even when you create by conscious choice, once you move beyond that point, is you realize that in not wanting, not asking, we would and will receive. So we don't even have to ask or seek to create. We just have to be in a state of acceptance, because the universe already knows what's on your heart. It already knows what our desires are. And so to be in the state of flow is when all them things naturally start to manifest. And what I was going to say was, if I've learned anything over the last 5 years, is that you can't get anyone to do anything, and that anyone who isn't spiritually ready to see cannot see until they've reached wherever they need to be within their evolutionary path and have had the experiences they need to have to be able to get the eyes to see. So you can only ever plant seeds, and that's all you can ever hope for. And then through them contemplating what you've said, maybe 6 months down the line, 2 weeks later, a year later, the universe will bring things into their reality that validate what you've said, that will then make them look deeper within themselves for the truth. It's already all happening anyway.
Right. Okay. We're coming to. I make it 10. I want to keep this. I'm 2 hours ahead of you, so I'm not going to say what time it is, because I think.
Well,
What time is it there? Is it 10 to 9 there? 10 to 9 there, is it? Okay. So I want to stop sharp on 10 o'clock. Can I just say at this point, I'll publish this whole thing on the Truth Lens Telegram group, and then I'll break it up into little snippets, and then those little snippets we can post on other places elsewhere. Can I just ask?
When you say snippets, do you mean 4 parts?
No. Right. I could put it in 4.
I thought you were going to make little shorts.
Yeah, no. I mean, what I mean, if there's interesting points that we've said, and it's all concise within a minute, then you see, you're more likely to get interest if something. We all value our time. We all see. I've been told I'm too loud, so I've got to finish in 10 minutes, right? I've told I'm too loud, and it's not my house; it's someone else's house.
Oh.
So we've got to try and get our message out. But like, people value their time, right? I can afford 29 seconds on this bit of information. I can afford 15 minutes on that bit of information.
And I need to just
you know what I mean?
The shrimp.
Yeah, no. I'd like to hear from the shrimp. Oh yeah, right. So we're rounding things up here now. I believe Shrimp is a friend of Joe's. I've met. She's in Darlington. She's been commenting on the Porcupine, and there's some people have been saying, "Can you guys come down to the Brinkburn pub on a Wednesday night?" But not this Wednesday. Anyway, I'll invite you guys along to sometime. Steve, I do want you and Nathan, if you'll still talk to me, to come and do a talk in Billingham soon. Soon.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of interest.
I'm sure he will as well.
Yeah. I know. And are there any other closing points we need to cover? Think about what should we be talking about next week in positive solution manner mode.
Well, I always talk about the occult. Failing that, I talk about survival and I talk about the army. But personally, the occult answers a lot of questions. The trivium, natural law, objective morality, all of these things are helpful to certainly the truth movement to take an evaluation and appreciation of what's going on in the world. But likewise, I think what you're doing here with Truth Lens is brilliant. Long may it continue.
And I just think, don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. Don't worry. The scripture says, give no thought to the morrow, and the morrow will take care of itself. Because if you're all right in this moment, and you're present, and that's all you're doing, and you're grateful and counting your blessings every day. I'm grateful for a roof over my head. I'm grateful I can pay me bills. I'm grateful I've got my car. I'm grateful I've got my food. I'm grateful we're both healthy. You manifest, you call into being more reasons to express gratitude and appreciation. And it doesn't matter how much shit is going on around you. If you can maintain your composure in that what you focus on, you create more of, you'll always be on the outskirts of the shit rather than right in the middle of it.
Okay. I'd like to invite. So we're the basic panel here, but it'd be nice if next week we do bring another guest in. I know it was a bit short notice for the shrimp to come along. There is a guy from Edinburgh called Thomas, who I was supposed to have an interview with last Tuesday, and apologies to Thomas, but my laptop wouldn't work, and I couldn't understand why. Technical problem. I realised in the end it was the electricity is very dirty here, so I had to get a new power lead and like extension lead and technical problems. But I'm really glad that we got this together tonight. So we're proving that we can do something every week, but we can expand on this and explore other things. So I
would like to talk about special needs one week, if you want.
Special needs. Let me write that down in my little bit. Special needs. Oh yes, I like that as well.
It's just because the educational system for SEN is absolutely horrendous. The kids are not getting any funding.
Let's not go into
without question. And let's 1 in 4 now, and I think lots of people are struggling because they're stuck with their kids at home and they don't know what to do. And I've been going through that for the last 10 years. And in fact, that's what Revive Righteousness was about, was that I've created a self-awareness program for neurodiverse children.
Yes, tell us a bit about Revive Righteousness then. I've got 6 minutes.
It's actually founded in natural law. If you can just give us 1 second, can you? And I'll just read you a little bit from me ethos for it. In amongst all me court papers and complaints that I've been actively doing. Oh, just to say I got my CCJ removed in court.
Oh, well done. Yeah, congratulations.
And I've got... I've just filed an application against the police for a false arrest and £1,000 fine and 6 points on my licence for a crime I didn't even commit, and false detainment and violating all my fundamental rights, committing an assault, forcing us to have a drugs and alcohol test. He openly admitted he was a servant of the Crown when I asked him if he was a constable, and I told him I've got no contract with the Crown Corporation, and you're admitting to me you're a private agent. So they threatened us with detaining us for 24 hours because I said, I've got no lawful obligation to give you my details if I haven't committed a criminal offence. And then the woman was looking up on Google to see if hold me mobile phone was a criminal offence.
Yeah, most people would just fold up in front of authority and just
well, I won't be doing anything because they've got the police 2 hours down the road to pull us again. It was just a right rigmarole. But because I teach the law I've got another group called Courts and Court Processes, and because I teach the law in there, because so many people in the movement teach people stuff that they've never done themselves and it doesn't work, and I've listened to them, I don't teach people anything unless I've stepped out there and done it myself and had results to see, here's what I did, here's what happened, and yes, it can be done. But if I can just read you, so basically, it starts with Proverbs. Start children off on the way they should go, and even when they are old, they will not turn from it. In a world of ever increasing wrongdoing, we feel it's important for our mentees and our mentors to be reminded that we as a collective species have what are known as God-given rights, that those rights are inherent to our being. Not only do they supersede all current jurisdictions, but they are universal. Seen in natural law as the creator-given guidance system we were blessed with to live a healthy and prosperous life. Our ethos and objective at Revive Righteousness is to ensure all children and young adults re-engage with their inherent knowing of what sits right and live by it. Self-love and worth are found when we are our most authentic selves, when we are true to ourselves and not the influences of others. This is where the filling of our own cup truly begins. To feel worthy of a good life. Can I just finish? I've only got 2 little bits to go. To feel worthy of a good life, worthy of God's life, we first must realise that no matter what our experiences, we are indeed lovable and worthy of being loved. Once we believe in ourselves, anything is possible, and this is where we find courage and confidence to dare to dream. Our objective is to free the spirits of our mentored and set them on a path of prosperity with the life skills to know that love can conquer all, that our worth does not have to come from the opinions of others, but our inherent known of goodness. If I fill my cup with goodies like honesty, kindness, compassion, empathy, and loyalty, then I know I'm quite literally all good, good enough for everything and everyone. These are practices we can all develop. At Revive Righteousness, the emotional needs of our children come first. We believe it's of optimum importance not to only use this statement as a sales tool, but to practice what we preach, and we are honoured to lead with integrity. There are many means to self-regulate, and we ensure all our mentors have the capacity to take this on board. Our first tools are acknowledgement and acceptance. Much distress comes from the feeling of not being seen or heard, and this is our first port of call. Because I think starting with the children is the way forward.
Fantastic. Yeah, that helps me in my situation at the moment. So I'll have a bit of I'll publish this tonight on
It's been a pleasure connecting with you both again.
You too.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you, Victoria, and thank you, Steve, for joining us. And in the next day or two, we'll decide what we want to talk about next week, and we'll take it from there. So thank you very much, and it's going to be a good night from all of us. Good night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night from me.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we're showing our age there, aren't we? Okay. Good night. Good night. Thanks.
Good night, folks.
Good night, everyone.